Hello, welcome to my channel. Today I'm going to do an update on the Sterzo, I still don't know how to pronounce it, steering device on my trainer that syncs with Zwift. So if you're curious to know what this device is, it's this guy right here. So I bought it a little over a month ago, and it basically allows me to steer, and then you'll see the little light come on over there, and so it syncs, I believe, through Bluetooth to Zwift when I'm running it on my computer, and then you can steer in the app. The device is great, but the question is it really worth buying one of these? So I'm going to answer that here. So I'm going to get suited up and show you what I've learned about it in Zwift. So let's do that. Okay, so before I get started, this is the syncing bit that's, off to the side. I suppose they had to figure out a way to put that somewhere. And it allows you to calibrate it and stuff, but this syncs with the steering device, right? And so that's necessary for any of this to work. So then we'll go ahead and move on. I haven't started pedaling my bike, but as soon as I do, this cadence sensor, which is right here, will kick in. Let's see what happens here, see if it kicks in. And then once that kicks in, I can go ahead and start. So I get on the bike. Maybe I need to pedal forward. Sometimes it takes a minute to sync up. There it goes. And then it's going to automatically jump me into the game. Okay, so I'm going to start out here with pedaling. You can see up here in that center bar, you'll see my level there, the little bicycle at the 18, and then next to that you'll see the on. So that tells me that the steering is on, right? And so I can test it right here. Steering left and right with the handlebars, and my rider steers. So that's all fine and dandy. And as I've mentioned before on my first review, in this area of riding, when you're just riding routes and stuff, you're limited to the bike lane. So I have my handlebars turned all the way left, and this is as far to the left as I can go. All the way, running into another rider, all the way to the right. This is as far right as I can go. So if I do nothing and I just keep my hands on the handlebars and leave the bar straight, the rider will just go wherever I last left. So if I go to the middle of the road and then go straight, it'll just stay there. So I do not have to steer to go around these turns. Happens automatically, even when I have the steering device enabled. One of the things I can do, and we'll do it up here, is I can go to the inside of the turn. So here's a good example. I'm on the inside of this turn, I can cut over, take the inside of this turn. So I can get a little bit of a realistic kind of thing of how you would actually ride, right? You take the inside of turns, and realistically you probably come out of the turn and then float to the outside, and then come in, and so on and so forth if you're actually riding. So that's kind of cool. So that's really your limit. You can also find other riders and get right behind them and get a better draft. Let's do an example of that right here, but I gotta pick up my speed. So this person ahead of me, I can get in, and you can see how my rider sits upright. That means they're able to draft, right? Now if I get out of the draft, I go over to the side, watch when my rider tucks down. Now I'm not in the draft, so I can literally use the steering device to get in and out of the draft if I want. I must still be in this person's draft. So that's how that works. So that's pretty much your limit on what you can do with this device here in normal Zwift riding. And now I'm on the hills and running out of breath. So let me get to the mountain bike course and I'll show you just a tiny bit there. And then I want to talk about this whole like steering in Zwift in general and what I really think about it. Okay, I've shown this before. If you look up here, I'm going to just use a cursor. In the upper right corner, you can see this little turn off on the right is repack ridge. And I get this little indicator here, and you got to make sure you select repack ridge. Another thing I did is I went into my menu and then into my garage and made sure I selected the mountain bike because I want to ride the mountain bike when I'm there. So I've gone through all this before. I'll link that video at the end of in the description and at the end of this video. But for now, I want to just talk a little bit about the steering and how it works. So I'm going to go ahead and start riding, and then we'll automatically, because I've made that selection, take me to repack ridge. This is the number one thing I don't necessarily like about the steering, is it doesn't allow me to use the steering device to choose these routes. I still have to go on and select it with my mouse or use the companion app on my phone to take these routes. It would be nice that when these routes come up, if I just turn my handlebars all the way to the right, that it would allow me to select that route. So if you're a developer for Zwift listening, that'd be a nice feature. And then if I need to change my mind, I can unselect it by turning the other way or leaving it straight or whatever. So it'd be nice if, like right in here, I just had to turn my handlebar and I could go. But I'm leaving my handlebar straight and my rider automatically goes. So you still have to make that selection using your mouse, or in my case a touchpad on my laptop, or you use the companion app. So now I'm going to go, and when I get in here, this is seen before because I've done it, it's going to stop me, ask me if this is what I want to do, so on and so forth. I have to remember to click the let's go again with the computer, otherwise it's going to kick me out of here if I just ignore it. So now I'm on the course. Okay, so here's the difference. Before you were limited to the route, right? So you only could go from there to about there. But in this game, if I don't steer, look what happens. It goes off and hits the side. So I'm just going to leave the handlebars straight and get a bad score up top there. I'm going straight, see? Runs into the rock, slows me down, now I go straight. So when you're in this particular part of the game, you absolutely have to use the steering, because if you don't, your rider won't follow the course naturally like I showed you on the other part of the game, where it will, if you leave the handlebar straight, it will still follow the road. So that's the big difference between steering in this part of the game than what it's like in the rest. So now we go through, and then we're going to be scored based on how well we steered. You see the stars up there, and so we'll see how I do steering. Oh, nice line. It actually gave me a full score on that. I don't think I did that good. It gave me a full score on that. Oh, now I just went off course because I'm talking, messing around. But this is actually pretty fun. I like it. Steering, whoops, screwed up. It's very video game-like, and I like that. And I usually do better than this because I'm making a video and thinking about that, not focusing on riding. I'm doing terrible. So that's really the bigger difference. So I'm not going to do this full course because I've already done this in the video before. But I just wanted you to see kind of the difference in how it steers. The steering, I also feel like, is a lot more responsive here. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and ride this out. I'm going to talk a little bit about steering and whether it's really something you can spend your money on. So I like what Zwift has done with Repack Ridge. I mean, I like the interactive aspect, the fact I can steer and then have to steer on the course. Like, this is a sweet experience, but there's a problem. They made this in 2019. It is now 2022. Just turned January 2022. And they have a 2-mile mountain bike course, and it's the only thing that has this super engaged steering. Everything else steers like I showed you earlier, where you're limited to the road, and if you don't steer, it's gonna steer for you automatically, which is fine, except it would be really nice if they made more of this kind of experience somewhere, even if they just decided to create a whole new world that had mountain biking in it and maybe gravel racing or whatever, or even if it was road racing, like think of like a tight time trial course or a crit course or something where you had to actually steer and you had to use that as part of your game while going against competitors or something like that. I think that would be really cool, and the technology is certainly there to do it, but Zwift has to have a vested interest in creating that experience for its users. What I think is that Zwift, once the pandemic hit, and I'm making this as a big assumption, but it's definitely what I've kind of visually seen happen, is Zwift exploded once the pandemic hit. Since people can't go places and do things, they all decided, oh, I'm going to do this indoor thing, and they heard about Zwift and everything. Great. Awesome. Love it that Zwift is super popular. But I think what that's also done is it's made Zwift have to really shift its focus. I think when they initially built this Repack Ridge course, they probably had bigger plans, bigger intentions. They were going to test this out, see how it goes, see what the feedback was, and then maybe move on. But then the pandemic hit, causes all kinds of problems, and the spike in users, and so they had to focus their efforts into supporting these users, and they had to focus their efforts into events, things like that, which is a really awesome experience on Zwift. I've actually done some Zwift racing, and I really like it, and it's super fun. And I also go on group kind of club rides with a local bike shop on here. I mean, I'm not bagging on Zwift at all, really. I just wish that there was more attention put to this kind of experience for those of us that are mountain bikers, because as a mountain biker, aside from going into their training thing, they have a couple of mountain bike training programs, and there just isn't a lot out there. It's very road, time trial, focused, and road riders really love this. But it'd be cool to see like mountain bike racing and even like time trials, or maybe not even time trials, but like crits where they require users to use steering. So not only are they having to have the lung power and the strength, they also have to use strategy, drafting, what best lines to take, things like that. And it would even be kind of cool if they allowed crashing. But if you played Gran Turismo, you can't crash in that game. You can run into things, whatever, and it is still a great experience. So I don't know if crashing will ever become a thing, but they definitely have it. So if you go off course here and hit the sides, it slows you down and you kind of bobble a little bit and stuff, which is fine. So that's really it. I think, should you invest in a steering device? This was, I want to say, $125 or something like that. I don't know. I got it from a bike shop where I have a special deal, so I don't know the actual retail cost of that. But I think it's around there, $125, $150. And if you want, to be able to ride Repack Ridge this way or steer on the courses, great. If you can afford it, it's fine. But it's not the really engrossed, great experience that I was hoping it to be. You're only semi-engaged. You're not fully engaged. So until they start doing more stuff like this, or Zwift ends up with a competitor that embraces this idea, which Zwift really doesn't have any competition, not in the full engrossed kind of video game like experience that they have here. So that's another reason why they don't really need to have this urge to like create all these new things. It takes competitors to kind of push people that are kind of in that market, if that makes any sense. So anyway, there you have it. My recommendation is most people, they shouldn't even bother. And if you really want to ride repack ridge, you can mount your phone vertically to your handlebars with a phone mount. And in the companion app, if you do what I just did, it gives you the option to use your phone to steer, and then it just uses your phone's, internal gyroscopic ability to steer, and it works pretty good. So you can do this without buying a steering device. Cool. Really appreciate your support from my channel. Please like and subscribe. I'm gonna go finish this ride. Peace. This is something I haven't noticed before, is after doing repack ridge, auto steering hasn't been turned back on. So now I actually am having an experience that I think I would kind of want. I would want the option, so if I'm just purely training, I would want to have it just auto steer. I wouldn't think about it and I could focus on my training. But I like this as an option where I can go and even do this if I want, which might freak other riders out, but it's kind of funny that I can ride against traffic, have these riders come barreling down at me, and I can avoid them or whatever. So for some reason, could have swore in the past that auto steering was turned off once I got back on the road. So I'm gonna check something. Maybe that happens if I switch back to a road bike. Let's see. So I'm gonna stop. Menu comes up. If I switch back to a road bike, grab my Specialized that I earned, this crazy thing. Well, auto steering come back on. Let's see. No. Huh. I think this is a first, or it's a glitch or something, because I could swear that in the past auto steering got turned back on. Interesting. So I can go anywhere I want. I can even go off course. Look at that. That's crazy. Well, this is kind of fun. Alright, well, we either found a game glitch or they've changed something that I'm unaware of. How much flexibility does it give me? See, so now I'm going around this turn. Gotta steer. I actually have to turn the bar, but I won't in the corner. Man, I like. Curious to know, can I go up that grassy hill over there? There's got to be a boundary somewhere. If not, I will be shocked. Okay, so now I've gone off into hyperspace, right? So I fully think that that's a glitch in the game. Because look at me, I'm flying through the air. Pretty funny. I don't know if anybody else has noticed this or done this. Bringing me back down to normal level. Boom! There's a little bit of ET action going on there. Found that by mistake, so I figured I'd add it at the end of this video. But I do think it would be really cool to have this experience that I'm experiencing now be the actual experience, and maybe they do add boundaries to an extent, like off the edges of the roads or something. And then if I was to go off in the grass, it would significantly slow me down because I'm on a road bike, right? Because it still treats it like I'm on the road. Yeah, it seems like it still treats it like I'm on the road. But pretty funny. They just ride through logs and go over here, go around this bear. It's kind of cool because now I can explore things in the game. Oh, it's lifting out big time. Alright. Cool. Well, enough of that silliness.